A look of pure terror washed over the man's face. Muddy water was seeping from the pipe seam, shattering the calm of the control room. Caleb crouched down in a panic, his trembling fingers reaching for the crack. When he pulled his hand back, his fingertips were coated in thick, wet sludge. But before he could even process the nightmare, the wellhead violently erupted. In a single heartbeat, everyone's blood ran cold. The control room immediately locked the blowout preventer. As the pipeline gate slammed shut, the torrent of mud was violently cut off. Out on the platform, the crew scrambled to evacuate. Caleb, knocked to the deck, scrambled to his feet and frantically radioed the control room for orders. Jason pointed into the distance, commanding him to open the diverter valve to relieve the massive pressure. Braving the rain of mud, Caleb sprinted forward and cranked the valve open. The well was temporarily contained, but no one realized the terrifying truth. A single silent tremor had just turned the key and unlocked the gates of hell. 2 days earlier, the crew arrived at the Deepwater Horizon offshore rig. Before a disaster strikes, everything always feels eerily normal. In the chopper, the crew joked and laughed. To them, it was just another shift. A newcomer marveled at the massive platform, calling it a miracle of modern industry. When platform manager Jimmy stepped off the chopper, he noticed the cement testing crew was already leaving. He asked if the well was finished, but their answers were suspiciously vague. Jimmy and Mike headed straight to the control room for a routine check. The gauges looked fine, the power was stable, but Jimmy hadn't received the cement bond log. Someone, it seemed, had intentionally skipped the safety test to speed up production. Mike discovered that British Petroleum executives had paid the testing crew to leave early. Furious, Jimmy and Mike went straight to confront the BP representatives. Before leaving the deck, Mike habitually tossed a coin into the ocean. It sank slowly into the deep.
No one knew that miles beneath the surface, a deadly, unstoppable tide of pressure was silently gathering its strength. The Deepwater Horizon was leased by BP. The drilling project was 50 days behind schedule and over $50 million over budget. To cut losses, BP had bypassed critical safety checks. But Jimmy refused to back down. Even as a contractor, the lives of his crew were his responsibility. Under Jimmy's intense pressure, BP executive Donald Vidrin finally agreed to a negative pressure test. The control room closed the blowout preventer, and the mud inside the pipe began to flow. Donald watched the gauges, sweating bullets. If a leak was found, it would cost BP millions more. Minutes later, the pressure stabilized at around 100 psi, a safe zone. The room breathed a collective sigh of relief, but suddenly, massive air bubbles erupted from the ocean floor. The gauge violently spiked to 460 psi, and it didn't stop. With more gas surging up, the needle shot to 1,000, and seconds later, it smashed past the red line, hitting a staggering 1,395 psi. A catastrophic failure was staring them right in the face, yet Donald refused to believe it. He argued it was impossible to have such extreme pressure without mud overflowing. He sketched a diagram claiming it was just a bladder effect, a sensor glitch, not a real anomaly. He demanded a second test on the kill line. If it read 0, he argued, it proved the first gauge was broken. Without visual proof of the seafloor, Jimmy reluctantly agreed. But deep in the abyss, the violent turbulence was tearing the well apart. Mud and shattered rock blasted upward. The second test initially showed 500 psi, but then a massive chunk of rock jammed the pipe. The gauge instantly plummeted to 0. It was exactly what Donald wanted to see. But behind that perfect, zeroed-out gauge lay a monster, waiting to be unleashed. Despite his gut feeling, Jimmy was forced to give the green light based on the data. Jason opened the blowout preventer. Instantly, the suppressed mud exploded violently upward. The control room scrambled to divert it, effectively removing their last line of defense. Minutes later, the pressure bypassed 2,300 psi. Jason slammed the emergency shutoff, but it was too late.
From this exact second, the Deepwater Horizon began its freefall into the abyss. The blowout preventer was shredded by the sheer force of high-pressure rock. A raging river of mud blasted through the pipes, tearing into the diverter room. Workers fought desperately to close the valves, but mud exploded through the seams. In the control room, Gina initially thought it was a routine alarm until her calls went unanswered. Out on the deck, an experienced driller screamed at the top of his lungs, "Run!" He knew Judgment Day had arrived. The pressure hit 4,000 psi. Jason triggered the secondary preventer, but against the fury of the earth, it bought them mere seconds. The energy trapped beneath the ocean floor finally detonated. Fleeing for their lives, the crew felt the true, deafening roar of the ocean. The blowout was firing mud and jagged rock into the air like a relentless machine gun. Jason ordered an emergency disconnect, but a massive shockwave blasted the crew across the deck. Through the ventilation shafts, highly flammable gas surged into the rig's engine rooms. The engines over-revved, screaming as the platform began to drift. The drill pipe bent, tearing open massive cracks, releasing even more catastrophic pressure. Gina ran out of the engine room and froze in absolute horror at the sight before her. She stumbled back to the radio, screaming a mayday into the void. The Coast Guard received the distress signal, viewing the terrifying explosion via satellite. But the rig was miles offshore. Choppers were 30 minutes away. Rescue ships would take even longer. The Deepwater Horizon was now a towering inferno. Deep inside the rig, Jimmy woke up buried in debris. He had been in the shower when the blast hit, leaving him severely burned and practically blinded. Stumbling through the wreckage, he found Mike. Though blown away by the shockwave, Mike was largely unhurt. Jimmy demanded to be taken.
But for some names, the only answer was a haunting, dead silence. As rescue choppers carried the wounded away, the Deepwater Horizon burned wildly against the night sky, a literal hell on Earth. Based on true events, the Deepwater Horizon disaster claims 11 lives. The blowout lasted 87 days, spilling over 210 million gallons of crude oil into the Gulf of Mexico. This industrial massacre, paid for in human blood, is a chilling indictment of corporate greed and technological arrogance. It forces us to ask, when will we learn to respect the deep? History never truly fades, and the warning bells are still ringing. Follow Bully Movies for more cinematic breakdowns, and we'll see you next time.